Just a quick reminder, I am completely updated on YouTube. So don't forget to be a subscriber and as all the YouTubers say, like click down here for the notifications, right? So lots of good content in there. Please let me know. Sorry, back and forth with Aubrey. Don't forget to take a look at all the videos from the past that are on whatever subject you might have some questions about. So if it's mindset, if it's presentations, if it's offers, if it's contingencies, if it's reviewing comparables, any of that kind of stuff, almost certainly you can go into the YouTube page, search for that phrase and find a couple of options, okay? All right, good morning, guys. What's on your mind? Who wants to share some positive news?
Bill, I'll share.
Please.
So within yesterday and today, I've actually had 2 people reach out to me just to ask me about the real estate process. So it was kind of honoring, I guess, to see that people are actually watching what I'm doing and want to speak with me about advice on how to become a realtor. So I was like, oh, they're actually watching.
I love that. Okay, let me dig in a little bit more. So what are you putting out there that is attracting people and creating curiosity?
Just really on my social media, I try to post. Definitely on my Facebook page, my realtor Facebook page. I have content going on there every day. I want to do a better job. I wish that what's going on my Facebook will go on my Instagram, but I try to grab what's going on my Instagram and on my Facebook and put it on my Instagram. But I also, do little questionnaires here and there. So, just try to keep content.
Love it. Love it. And so some people are asking about the process and others are asking about how to become an agent?
Correct.
And that is cool. Okay. Well, just some couple of quick thoughts on that. One, remember that if you're ever in touch with a person that is licensed or somebody that is in real estate school, they are ready for a one-on-one meeting. Okay, whether it be with myself or Robin or Aubrey. So if they're in school or they're licensed, let's get them in front of a one-on-one meeting. If they're curious, then the best place to go is career night. Okay. But if you've got a hotter lead or somebody that's, in school or about to test, or certainly somebody that's licensed, let's get them in front of a leader as quickly as possible, privately, meaning one-on-one, as opposed to a career night, because that's a much hotter lead and we want to secure it as soon as possible. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Beautiful. Congratulations. All right. Who else has some good news today? Anyone? John, you look like you're about to say something. You got anything positive you want to share? How you feeling?
No, not at all. No, I'll be in the office at 10 o'clock interviewing a potential buyer, or interviewing 4 potential buyers. So fingers crossed, see what happens.
Okay. All right, let's do a little bit of additional housekeeping. I posted something on Friday, I believe, and I just want to share a little bit more detail with you. So there is a website called familyreunion.kw.com. I'm going to share my screen real fast with you. All right, you guys see this? familyreunion.kw.com. So the 15th through the 18th of February, they've got some resources here. They've got some breakout sneak peeks. You got some videos and whatnot about what it all entails. This is there's 2 annual conventions, remember, each year. One is Family Reunion. It typically is hosted in February in a southern city. It's usually like Anaheim or Vegas. It's supposed to be in Vegas this year. Dallas, San Antonio, Orlando, New Orleans, those kind of places. And then Mega Camp, which is typically in either August or September. So as we know, Mega Camp was digital this last year, and Family Reunion is now going to be digital. So it's 34 days away. I think right now the registration is like $9 or $119. Normally this is like $800 or $900 plus, you know, hotel, flight, meals, cabs, all that kind of stuff. What I'd like for you to do today is just hold those dates, okay? We're going to be doing some drawings. We're looking for sponsors. In a perfect world, please don't hold me to this, but our intention from a leadership team is to have well over 100 attendees. And I would love to have all of you guys there.
I've already signed up.
Nice. Beautiful, Michael. Thank you for your commitment. If you would like to guarantee a slot, you can go ahead and sign up. My recommendation, though, is to hang just the dates, hold on to the dates, and there'll be some drawings, and most likely, vast majority of us will get this event sponsored. Okay? Sound good? If you happen to win, Michael will reimburse you, so don't worry. You can give it away or sell it.
Don't worry about it. I think it's going to be worth it.
Beautiful. Guys, this is like next level. Okay? So please hold the dates. The 15th and 18th we won't have a whole lot of PC activities so that we can focus on this program. Cool? Okay. One last thing I want to review, guys, is remember to state our goals. We are at we want to have 65 appointments this month, 41 listings taken. That's buyer and seller listings. For those that have reported, I'm seeing a pretty good amount of appointments, just not a lot of listings taken. So I want to encourage you, asking for paperwork to get signed is just a natural next step of a great presentation and a great needs analysis. Don't think that it's like some kind of huge obstacle to ask them to commit. Because if you've done a good job and they know you're going to work hard and have their best interest at heart, it's not strange to ask for the commitment, okay? And you can do it somewhat in an informal way. Say, hey, there's some paperwork that would cause you to be a client. This is what I can do prior to the paperwork being signed. This is what I can do after the paperwork is signed. A lot of our process will be digital signatures or email or online signatures. So I'll just send it to you so you can make sure that you're comfortable with the online signature process. Give you an opportunity to review it. Certainly, if you have any questions, let me know. Does that sound aggressive, assertive, and like I'm trying to take advantage of somebody?
No.
Does that sound aggressive, assertive, or like I have somebody's best interest not at hand?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay, so let's ask for the paperwork and let's get some signatures on it, okay? My math says that we should be somewhere in the, I would say 2/3 to 3/4 of the appointments we go on, they should commit to working with us, or better yet, we should commit to working with them. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay, who wants to tell me who the DTD2 people are this week? What are the letters, guys? Come on now. Everyone's read the email, right? Everyone's got it recorded on their planner, right? Oh, please tell me that y'all's mics are having a hard time. Please, please, please. B and E, and we're texting S, right? Okay, can I be blunt with y'all? Number one, you got to read the email. Number two, there ain't no way you're going to call B and E's if you don't know that you're supposed to call B and E's. Okay, so that should come off of your tongue, and you guys should be fighting for who's going to say it first. Not all be quiet. Okay, is that a fair rebuke? Okay. Has anyone had some success reaching out to those whose last name ends in B or E this week that they want to share? Is anyone going to be able to share tomorrow because they're going to spend today calling people with B and E? I wish I could see all y'all's faces now. Everyone tired? What's going on today?
Well, it wasn't really.
I'm driving.
Okay, you're
Oh,
want this.
you're
Don't
driving.
look at the road.
I reached out to somebody, but it wasn't because it was on the DTD2 list, but her name she has the last name B. So I'm just going to check that off as one of the people I'll be reaching out.
All right, beautiful. Anyone else?
I reached out to one person, which I got a referral from. She is not looking until the fall.
Okay.
So I don't know, like I didn't want to ask her about pre-approval or anything. Is this too early?
So you can ask it in a good question, Matthew. So first of all, that should be somebody that goes into the database and also somebody that goes into the pipeline. So great work there. Make sure you take credit for that. And then you can always say to them, so, tell me a little bit about how you're preparing, or is there anything that I can do to help you in your preparations for your purchase in the fall, right? And they'll probably bring up the financing, to which you could say, hey, there's no pressure. I just want to make sure that when you are ready to begin, that you know who to call. Would that be okay? Right? But I would take that opportunity to kind of investigate a little bit and say, hey, is there anything, just so I know, is there anything that's tying you to that date? Is that when your lease expires, or is there some other factor that's involved there? Is the kids getting into the school district important? You try to dig a little bit at why they're identifying that date, right? Okay. The idea there is if they just pulled it out of the sky, then, and there's no real pressure to buy on that date, then they may want to consider buying earlier than that, right? If I was to take a guess, the interest rates probably aren't going to be quite as low. I don't think they're going to jump up hugely, but I think there'll probably be some pressure to push them up a bit, right? So there could be some loss of some purchasing power. We may have more homes on the market when some of these, foreclosure, stalls or whatever run up, and people are still out of a job or behind on their mortgage and have less relief, right? So we know what's going on today. We don't know exactly what's going to happen later. It's not to scare people into thinking something that's not in their best interest. It's just to have a real conversation about that.
Okay.
Right. See what happens with the vaccine. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's going to affect mortgage rates and real estate markets and all that. It could work out in their benefit, and it could go the other direction, right? So we have a little bit of certainty right now.
I had my talk with that lady yesterday about the buy versus rent, and we went into this in a lot of detail and couldn't convince her either way, but went over those very same points.
Right. And again, so John was meeting with somebody that expressed interest in renting and has a pretty healthy budget, right? So you would look at somebody like that and say, gosh, like there must be some kind of compelling reason you have a desire to rent rather than buy. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you what it was, right? And let them kind of defend themselves, so to speak, right? Oh, well, I'm down here for a year and then I'm probably going to move. Okay, that makes sense. Or, hey, I don't know where my job's going to be, or, whatever. Okay, some of that stuff makes sense, but some of it doesn't make sense at all, right? And we know that according to the research, the average net worth of a homeowner is around 41 times the average net worth of a renter. According to research they did about, I think it was like 2 years ago, the average net worth of a renter was a little over $5,300. We'll just let that sink in for a second. $5,300. Okay. And the average net worth of a homeowner was almost $240,000. Okay. So this is research and quotes and stats that you could pull out at any time to help people understand that there may be another solution. Okay. You're not trying to talk a renter into buying or a buyer into renting. You are simply helping them see all of their options. That is our job. Does that make sense? John, do you think she appreciated the kind of additional education?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, no, she repeatedly said about how helpful I was, and it helped like ease her concerns. She still hasn't made a decision either way, okay. But I just presented both sides. I got her motivation. Well, what's leaning you towards renting? Okay. And it didn't refute anything, just kind of get her perspective.
Yeah, validate it all.
What's leaning you towards buying? And then I got, her perspective on that. This is the way things are. This is, and answered a lot of questions about her, economic, about economic policy, things like that. Her questions, I certainly didn't, overload her.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was a very, good conversation.
So the next thing, I don't know exactly her timing, but what I might suggest doing with her is go and show her an example of something that is in her rental budget, and go show her an example of something that's in her purchase budget.
And I also went a little bit outside of her main zip code, just about other options that she has, even a mile or two away. These are other options that you have. So I presented her. It's significant. She wants to do in Buckhead. She wants to buy in Buckhead, which is very difficult for her. Her budget's not quite there. But
well, just so you know, it's John is only saying it's difficult because it's what he means, and what we all mean when we say something is, oh, the house has this problem. What they mean is the house is not worth that when it has this problem, right? So it's not hard to buy in Buckhead. It's just hard to buy a home that she wants in Buckhead.
No, and there were homes in her budget. It was just that it was maybe in the lower end, maybe of what she wanted. The amenities that she wanted. It would be a touch difficult, but a mile or two away, few miles away, in a bit of a different atmosphere, it would be significantly lower for what she wanted.
What's her budget again?
She's spending $2,200 a month now, fairly easily. So it puts her at about. I put her at about maybe $325 to $350. We did the mortgage. We went through a mortgage payment calculator.
Probably higher than that, actually.
The problem are these HOA fees.
Yeah.
In these high rises, it's $500-$700 a month.
That's true. If she would go 2 or 3 miles north and get into like the Chastain area of Sandy Springs, she could buy a $500,000 home probably.
2-3, and we went over an example of that, where say a mile or two away in more of a townhome setting, you can get this, that, your PMI and your part, what have you, all for under your well under your budget. We went over a couple examples like that. So just presenting her, didn't really lean either way, just kind of here. And we're gonna meet next week. We're gonna probably meet in person next week and go over some more questions.
An important point here to discuss is this idea of you got to be a market expert, right? So for example, if somebody shows some interest in renting or purchasing in Buckhead, number one, your first task is to understand the Buckhead market backward and forward. And then you may want to start going out on the outskirts of Buckhead, right? You might want to start looking in West Midtown or Midtown, although that's probably not going to help much. Brookhaven, Sandy Springs, right? So you might want to use that as an opportunity to start looking just beyond what they're seeing if they're not finding stuff they're compelled with. And the more and more information you share with them, and the more and more they believe in your partnership, right? And the more confident you are as you're explaining things to future consumers, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit about seller pre-qualification. Does anyone have any question on what we were just discussing? Is that helpful? I know some of these things are like, drop in the bucket, very specific examples that we're kind of working our way through. But I'm trying to highlight to you kind of some of the broader concepts in that discussion. Did that make sense to you guys? Okay. At the end of the day, the question is what are you learning today? Are you becoming a smarter economist of choice, right? Are you spending 5 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes, are you spending 5 minutes learning about real estate? What's selling, what's not selling, what's new to the market, what just went under contract, what are the stats, etc. Make sense? While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to show you one more thing. So we do have a couple of newer people here. I want to make sure that you guys know exactly how to do this. I'm on fmls.com right now. I'm on Matrix, or I'm about to be. Okay, you see this little thing here that says Market Watch? Okay, you can customize this by area or price range or something like this. I just have it in all of Metro Atlanta right now. If you could look 3 days, you can do 24-hour today, 3-day, or 7 days. So 3 days, there's been 476 new listings. Okay, there have been 460 properties that have gone under contract and 469 homes that have closed. So you can go in here and kind of learn, you can customize it so you're not studying market data for areas that you're not interested in or you don't expect to work in, right? If you work in Sandy Springs, there's no reason to, and you would refer business away, let's say in Snellville. Okay, well, you don't need to know much about Snellville. Okay, let somebody else master that. But if somebody says, oh, I'm worried about this or I'm worried about that, say, hey, would it surprise you to know that there's been 469 properties that have sold in the last 3 days, right? The last 24 hours, we've had 464 closings, guys. 262 new listings. There's activity out there. There's enough activity out there in 1 day for you to secure all of your annual goals. Has anyone thought about it that way? Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about pre-qualification. I'm going to post these two. Hang on, let me open up the chat and I will bring in both of these documents here. Both of these are in the Google Drive. One is the seller intake sheet, and another one is kind of Keller Williams' version of the updated seller pre-qualification questions. Okay, this also comes from Bold. All right. First of all, remember, this is a script that you should either have completely memorized or in visual sight or within hands distance all day, right? Because our job is to, here's the other one, successfully. Okay, our job is to secure appointments, and our favorite appointments are seller appointments, right? So these questions should rattle off of our mouth constantly, all day long. Okay, let's start with this one, which is the pre-qualification script Bold 2.0. Okay, so these are questions that you would ask in one of two places. The first place is if you're courting a seller and you book an appointment, you want to ask these before you go on the appointment. So some people will go ahead and transition from, okay, we're good at 3 o'clock on Thursday. Before I let you go, I just got a couple of questions for you, and then they'll start. Or, you know, if you don't see the list, did those 2 downloads show up? Are you guys able to access them? Okay.
I see him now.
Okay, Ty, there should be 2 different documents. They're both in Google Drive, but I'm just making it simple for you right here. Okay. The other option is basically to book the appointment, get off, and then like the day before the appointment, when you're calling to confirm, say, you know, I'd like to ask you a couple of quick questions so I feel better prepared, and we'll walk through that. Okay. But you want to make sure that you get the answers to these questions prior to the meeting. Okay. So let me read through this. It says, you know, hi, this is Bill Linkwald with Keller Williams. I'm calling to confirm our appointment on Thursday at 3 o'clock. Does that time still work for you? Yes. Or obviously you skip that if you are on the phone with them, right? So I can be fully prepared for our meeting on Thursday. Give a couple of minutes to answer a few questions. Great. Okay. When we last spoke, you said you wanted to sell your house and move to Denver, correct? Right? Notice how I paused a slight bit before sell your house. Notice how I said sell your house with a downswing, meaning I didn't say sell your house. I said sell your house. It's called an embedded command. I'm speaking to the person's subconscious, whether they realize it or not, and I'm commanding them to associate the idea of selling their house with hanging out with me. Does that make sense? That's why it's in all capital letters. Then there's a very slight pause after house before you move to the next phrase. Okay. So they answer yes, yes, that's still what we want to do. So how soon do you have to be there? I say, oh, we'd like to be there in 3 months. Okay, so if I sell your house in the next 30 days, would that pose a problem for you? And I'm gonna encourage you to think about it this way, guys. Just ask the question in the order that it says to ask the question. Let's not reinvent the wheel. These are written by people that study the brain and that study sales. And when you are a sales master and you're a master of the brain, then you can write your own scripts. Until then, use these. Okay. Next, have you looked online to check out prices of other similar homes in your area? Right, you're testing the waters a little bit. You're seeing how educative of consumer you have here, right? Are they going to want to take charge of, you know, pricing and marketing and all that? Are they know-it-alls, or are they basically leaning on you for the expertise? Okay, so if they say yes, we say, were you surprised by what you saw, or were the list prices what you expected? Very open-ended, very vague questions. Okay, you're just getting the answer. If they say no, I haven't looked at the prices online, or really I've not done much research at all, that's why I'm calling you. You could say, as a professional real estate agent here in Alpharetta, I have access to the most accurate recent sales information. So obviously we'll review that information, and when we meet, so that we can make the best decision when pricing your home. So that's jam-packed of brain stuff. Okay, there's a lot of we, so that we can make the best decision. I'm a professional real estate agent. I have the most accurate information, which implies that they have least or less accurate information, or that if they don't meet with me, they may not get the most accurate information. Make sense? We all know that Zillow's estimates, for example, are not necessarily accurate. Okay, obviously, that's I'm drawing a blank on the language term that is, but that's in there for a reason too. Don't skip that. We will review the information when we meet. So we're going to meet, and it's we, and so that you can make the best decision when pricing your home. Y'all see how jam-packed that is? Okay. What are some of the positive features you'd like buyers to know about your home? Right? Get them positive, get them happy. They're going to brag about their home. That's good. Okay. Again, they're associating doing this process with you. We want to get them happy and positive. What are some of the positive features you'd like buyers to know about your home? Is there anything negative that would affect about the property that would affect its sale? Right? That's stuff like, yeah, there's some deferred maintenance. It's got an old roof. It's got a bad backyard. It's on the main road. It's, you know, backs up to the, you know, to the retention pond, or it's got a, you know, power tower in the backyard, or anything that, like, steep driveway that may be a turnoff for certain buyers. Okay. So when choosing an area, by the way, whatever they say there is the reason why they're not getting a 10 price. Okay. So if all the data suggests that the home should sell for $350, and they've got outdated appliances and a bad backyard and a power tower in the backyard, and, you know, old systems and, you know, deferred maintenance and wallpaper all over the place, that's why they're not getting $350. Okay. It's nothing more scientific than that. If their home's not a 10, it ain't going to get a 10 price. Make sense? Right. There's another way of asking that question that says, this is actually on the other sheet. It says, how would you rate the condition of your home from 1 to 10, 10 being like brand new? Right. And they'll say, oh, the carpet upstairs is, you know, we've got some kids, the carpet's a little worn down, and you know, the interior really needs to be painted. Okay, great. So well, they'll tell you the number, and then you would say, so what would make it a 10? And then they'll tell you all the problems with the house. And then you take note of all the problems with the house, because they understand, they've vocalized the idea their house isn't a 10. And therefore, they shouldn't get a 10 price. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, when choosing an agent to represent you, by the way, this whole thing about as a real estate professional here, that's the only thing. If they say no, you ask this question. If they say yes, you ask this question, skip this one, and then move here. Okay. So then you would say, what are some of the positive features? So when choosing an agent to represent you, what is most important? right? In other words, what are you looking for in the person you choose? So they'll say whatever they say. They'll say, I want somebody that is really active online, and I want somebody that is really good at communication, and I want somebody who's honest, right? So you could make sure if you have, let's say, 50 testimonials, you could grab the ones that talk about communication, honesty, right? And put those in the pre-listing packet. Or if they say, hey, I want somebody that's, got a real good grasp on digital marketing or whatever, then that could be something that you discuss in detail in your presentation, right? So don't just go in there blind thinking like whatever comes out of your mouth is going to be attractive to them. Ask them what's attractive to them, and then tell them that that's what you do, right? I mean, it's real. You're not lying to them. You're just getting insight onto how to secure the business, okay? What do you need to see or hear to help you make that decision? I mean, what a great question. Well, I need to hear that you're going to answer my text within an hour. Okay, so my policy is that I answer text within an hour. I mean, that's not really my policy, but that's oftentimes not going to be what the seller says. The seller will say, I just want somebody to return the phone calls. Say, my policy is to return phone calls before the end of every single day. In active negotiations, I return phone calls within 30 minutes, right? And then they don't actually even realize that you're connecting the dots that way, right? They expressed a desire, you let them know that that's the desire, or that you execute on that desire. Make sense? So I'll be sending over my seller listing package, which is the pre-listing package. Will you take a couple of minutes and review the information before we meet? And they'll say, sure, right? So the presupposition here is that you actually have a pre-listing package. There is a pre-listing package that is in the Google Drive. I will go ahead and put it here now just to keep it nice and simple. It is in the PC roadmaps. And it is, hang on.
Hey Bill, what group are you
From
putting
Bold
this
2.
stuff in right now?
Hey guys, this is from Bold 2. Do we see a trend here? Okay.
Bill, which group are you putting this in right now?
I'm just putting it in the chat right this second.
Which chat? Because I don't see it popping up on my phone.
Oh, the chat for this particular meeting.
Oh, okay. I'm looking in the wrong place. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So this is in the PC roadmaps file. It's called listing proposal. That is a pre-listing package from a top agent out of, I think she's in Orlando. Okay, so we asked the next question. So Joe, when we're together on Thursday, if what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable, which another embedded command, and confident that I can sell your house and put the most money in your pocket, are you prepared to get the process started so I can help you and your family, you and Diane and the kids, get to Denver in 3 months, right? So you're repeating to them what their motivation is, number one, so you can let them know that you heard it, right? I'm almost done, guys. And secondly, it's a trial close, right? Then you'll hear, for example, oh, well, we have 3 other agents we want to meet with, or I don't know, we'll have to think about it, and say whatever they say, just say okay and take note of it. And if you have to deal with interviewing other agents, then maybe you can bring some statistics on how you outperform other agents, right? So all this stuff is designed to get them to start talking, and that whatever they say, you're going to use to create an advantage when you're courting them. Make sense? Do you have any questions before I arrive? Right? So they'll say, well, what's your commission? Great question. Commission varies by every single time. So we can talk about that when we're together. And you better study up on your commission objections because it's coming. They're going to ask you. Okay? If they tell you they've got questions about it, they're going to ask the questions. Make sense? Oh, well, what do you do any type of like Facebook retargeting? And it's like, great question. Social media and online presence is really important. We will talk about that in great detail. My team and I definitely do that. And you make a note. What the hell is retargeting? Okay. and you better go figure out what it is before you meet with them. Does that make sense? Okay. One last question. Will all the decision makers be there on Thursday? One of the worst things you could do is really impress the spouse and then the other spouse wasn't there. What a big waste of time, right? Try to get everyone that's a decision maker together. Should even be easier if you're doing it digitally. So you know, just so you know, this is golden, guys. This is the question of the day or comment of the day. So you know, our meeting will only take about 30 minutes. Will that be okay? That one of the worst things you could do is going into a meeting where you have no plan to get out of there in a reasonable amount of time, and you haven't even shared with them how long you're going to be thumbing through your brochures for, right? If somebody came into my home and pulled out a binder this big and didn't tell me how long the meeting was going to take, and then just started thumbing through, I'd be like, I'm out of here. You need to leave, right? So number one, setting the expectation for this is going to be about a 30-minute meeting is helpful for both of you. That way, when it's done and you've already made your proposal and 3/4 of your listing presentation is done in the pre-listing package anyway, it's just the formality of looking around the home, taking some notes and signing some paperwork, and then you run off to the next meeting. Does that make sense? If you're in a meeting for 3 hours with somebody, it's a sign you don't know what you're doing. There's no reason why you should have a 3-hour listing appointment. Does that make sense? Because almost certainly what's happening is you're giving advice to somebody who is not committed to you. Oh, well, let me walk around the home and show you every little nickel that we've spent on the home in the last 40 years and pictures of all of our yada, 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 yada stuff. We'll get to that once we commit. Make sense? Thoughts, questions?
I do have 2 questions for you, but they're not on this.
Not on this? Okay. All right, pause for 1 second. Anyone have any questions on this?
Bill, I have a question.
I do.
All right, Marquia, you go first.
In regards to like just the I guess listing presentation, buyer presentation. If you have someone that comes up to you and say, hey, I'm interviewing agents, I don't feel like anybody's taking me serious. So like I possibly want to use you as an agent, even though the people are close to them and they're not looking into September. How do you kind of go about that situation do you go ahead and present kind of a buyer's presentation, or do you say, well, maybe it's just a little too early being that you're not looking into September?
If it was me, you're asking my opinion, right?
Yes.
Number one is they've told you they've had some bad experiences with an agent, and I would explore what that means. Right?
Well, when I asked about,
I was going to say, so what they're telling you is that they, no one's taking me seriously. What, really? Nobody's taking you seriously? Or are agents like making promises and they're not doing what they say they're going to do? Or they're saying they're going to call you and not call you? What do you mean by that? I mean, you should like say it with like such shock that like you couldn't imagine why an agent would not take a buyer seriously. You're like, wait, did I hear that correctly? You've talked to agents that made a promise and then didn't do it? Did I hear that right? Right. And then so you're figuring out what it is that you're essentially like putting the nail in the coffin for that relationship. And then I'm of the mindset that you should get in front of them as soon as possible.
Okay.
Right. And so if you don't have an appointment today, that should be your appointment. If it's on Zoom, whatever. Right. Hey, there's a lot of information out there and a lot of misinformation out there. And I want to make sure that we do all the proper preparations in the proper amount of time. So even though you're not prepared to move forward until September, it's really important that we spend about 30 minutes together so I can walk you through some things that you should have in mind as we begin the process. And that's when you can start telling them about affordability and getting them in front of the lender, and when you can walk them through the idea of like new construction and buyer brokerage and these kind of things. So if you got a lead, secure it, because the second you let them off into the world, they see billboards, they hear radio ads, they get other friends that got their real estate license. They're like subject to the world's marketing.
Yeah.
as soon as you get a chance to secure a piece of business, do it.
Okay.
I don't care if somebody wants to buy.
And then it would be good
I
maybe to
wanna
set
meet.
them up for like a smart plan so that you can continue to keep those touches.
Yes. However, don't use a smart plan. That's somebody in your pipeline, and that person should get more than just a smart plan. Let's put it
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I just did this. I have somebody for September as well. I've already got her together with the lender because I want to make sure that by the time she comes, she's qualified or she knows what she needs to do now. And then I also set her up on an auto search to whereas I'm just sending her properties once a month so that it can just pique her interest. And then
Yes.
I'm just gonna still periodically just reach out to her. So that way at every time she blinks, I'm on her mind.
Love
So that I don't
Like
lose
that.
her.
Love that. And don't forget to, you can put a little video text in there. Hey, I was looking around for, a buyer client of mine. I saw this home. I thought of you. What do you think about this one? And you're just staying top of mind, right? But if you let that person disappear and try to reach them in May and they ghost you, they bought with somebody else because you didn't talk to them frequently enough.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions?
I have one.
All right.
So I have back to the top of the seller scripts when like let's just say that when it's just like okay, well, when do you need to be in the other homes? I'm working with two people who I'm going to meet with this week, but the thing is they don't live in the homes. So when I go there, I'm trying to do kind of like a Keller's offer situation.
Why?
So I don't know because of the price point. One, they didn't live there. I don't know.
Okay. I'm
I
just
don't know.
challenging
I
you.
just
So that you can ask the question.
well, one I do know.
Keller offers is a way to get, this is just my thought. Keller offers is a way to secure the appointment or as a solution for somebody who would rather have convenience than money. Okay. So don't necessarily lead with that. Just because the home's empty doesn't mean they're going to sell it for 25% less than it should sell for. So once you, especially if they're not particularly motivated, right? So you can ask them, say, hey, we've got a lot of unique solutions. Tell me a little bit about what your goals are. And if somebody says, well, I don't want to make my bed, I don't want to clean my house, I just want to sell the home, I don't want anyone with COVID coming in, yada, yada, say, wonderful, we've got a special program called Keller Offers. It sounds like we should meet and I'll explain all the details to you. But if somebody says, yeah, we need to secure as much money as possible so we can buy our home in Denver, Keller Offers probably ain't going to be the right solution. So make sure you ask some extra questions.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
I have something for you,
it
Bill.
does.
Travis.
Yeah, just a little advice on this. If you were working with a buyer client, and how do I get him to come see houses in person because he wants to, to check all the properties online. Like for instance, I sent him 9 properties that were perfectly in the budget, right in the area that he was looking for, that I thought were a great fit, but small things like not enough light in the dining room or this and that. And I know there's a big difference from looking at pictures to somebody actually touring the house. So what would your advice be to getting a client who wants to just look at houses online compared, to touring them? How would I get them out?
I might say to them, hey, this is one I thought for sure you'd want to see in person. I want to make sure that we're not wasting anyone's time, but as we know, sometimes pictures can be deceiving. Do you see any of these that you might want to see in person? I mean, look, if the guy is eventually going to pick one and say, let's go buy it, and I only have to show a home or two, that's great. But you want to just dig a little bit to see, too much light in the dining room. I mean, maybe the light bulbs aren't bright or like the curtains were drawn or something, right? There could be a lot of explanations for that. But
Right,
if he says, hey, I don't see any that attract me, say, all right, next round.
Well, it's kind of like he's pulling aspects of all of them and combining them into one dream home that I can't find. That dream home doesn't exist,
Well, as long as he's not particularly motivated, you're probably not going to switch his mind on that.
Yeah.
So you can bring him back to his deadline. Hey, I need to be in the home before September so the kids can be in the right school district. Okay, then you've seen the market. We got to pick the best of the best, even though it might not be perfect for you. But if this guy's like just going to buy one eventually, then you're probably not going to be able to force him to buy like an A- if he wants an A+. But I'd say, hey man, let's get together. I want to show you this one in person. Just give me an opportunity to meet you in person. It's been a while since we've seen each other. Let's go look at a house, grab a beer, and you'll really get an understanding of how he looks at property.
Okay.
Okay. Matthew, real quick, can you ask those questions?
Yes. So I think I talked to you about this before, but there is a person who wants to buy land. She doesn't live in Georgia though, but she wants to buy land here. And so I sent her some listings. And so she was asking me to look at stuff, but I don't know, like, is there a specific, is it also a buyer contract that I need to get her to sign before
That
that?
would be a buyer's agency agreement too, yes. Land is a whole different animal though. I assume she's got cash because she's not going to get a loan to buy land.
She does have cash.
What's she going to do with it?
She says she just wants to have it. She may put like a log cabin or something on it later, but she just wants to have it right now.
All right. Yeah, in order for her to become a client, then she just needs to sign the buyer brokerage agreement.
And that's before I look at anything for her, or
I mean, you could, ideally, yes, but she's not going to sign something unless she knows what it's like to work with you. Let me rephrase that. She should not sign anything unless she knows what it's like to work with you. So you're going to have to prove a little bit of your value before she just blindly signs with some random dude. Okay.
Mhm.
So you're probably going to have to do a little bit of work to prove that you're a good partner and you've got some good ideas and you've got access to a lot of information before she commits to working with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Second
Bill,
question.
can I tell him one thing? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Tell me.
I've never had a land deal, but I remember Kathy helped me out with this. You may want to check with the HOAs. I'm sorry, I'm doing virtual school still. You may want to check with the HOA before you even send the stuff that you're sending her, just to make sure that it's zoned correctly. And that way you're kind of showing your value to her, because it doesn't make any sense if that's what it is that she wants to build. If you didn't reach out to the HOA just to see if she can actually do it, you're kind of just spinning your wheels. So just look at it, reach out to the HOA, get that back, and just say, hey, like I reached out to the HOA, it's zoned for X, Y, and Z, and then try to go with your contract.
That's assuming that it's in a community, right? If she just wants, in 2 acres in the middle of nowhere in Ellijay or something, it's off the beaten path and she's going to stick a log cabin there, she may not have to deal with that. But also, what kind of budget does this person have? 50 grand?
Well, she was talking like 40.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, you have to ask yourself, hey, is this my ideal client? Right? I know you don't have a ton of clients right now, but sometimes remember we hang on to clients that aren't ideal because we have a lack of prospects, and we have a lack of prospects because we had a lack of prospecting, right? So you might just call somebody up in Ellijay or wherever she's looking and say, hey, I got a land guy here. You send me 25%. I'm going to work on something better.
Oh, cool.
Let me rephrase that. Not better.
Right.
More in line with your ideal client in an area that makes sense for you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. Like if I got that request today, I'd give it to somebody. I don't know anything about land. I don't have any interest in learning about land.
Okay.
That makes sense. Because even if you were to find the perfect place and got paid next week, you're still only going to make $1,000. I'm not minimizing $1,000, but if you used all that time that you spent learning the land market and driving up there and all that, you could go find a real good listing probably.
Okay.
All right. You guys have a wonderful day today. Oh, one more thing. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a seller listing presentation workshop. I have, I think, 3 more slots left for people to come in person. We will do it by Zoom too and record it. If you'd like to come in person, please
What
let
time
me
is
know,
it?
and I will record your name on the list. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here. And if you have
Bill,
not,
what time is the workshop?
12:30. 12:30 tomorrow. Make sure you guys are studying that email every day, or not every day, but every week that I send out. And if you have not recorded your numbers for the first week in January, please do so. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.